What's up everyone, and welcome back to Blade Bias. With the coverage of the FlipForge edit and plastic balisongs in general lately, I've been comparing this thing to what I consider to be my favorite plastic balisong. And as some of you might know, that hasn't exactly lined up with what I've said is my favorite in the past. I've said before that the Calico is my favorite plastic balisong. And while that is still true, because I don't want to discredit how good the Calico is, I think the Tay Flipper recently, I've really realized just how good it was. And as far as my preferences right now, the Tay Flipper has just barely beaten out the Calico to become my favorite plastic balisong. At least for now. We'll see how this thing turns out when I put the crescent blade back on it. Now, before I get into the reasons why, I just want to say that I am not at all saying that the Calico is a bad flipper, because I know how this community loves to destroy something that is considered to be worse than its counterpart. Kraken trainer. Sorry. Excuse me. So no, the Calico is not an awful choice. In fact, I think it is still one of the best plastic balisongs on the market. Especially since the original Tay Flipper is not on the market anymore. And I don't consider it to be a downgrade whatsoever. I think if you buy the Calico, you're going to be very happy with it. But what I've realized is that the Tay Flipper has something that the Calico and the edit with the Tonto blade on it doesn't have. And that is consistency and uniformity. When you pick up... Actually, no, let's start with the Calico. When you pick up the Calico, you immediately notice how heavy it feels. But then you realize that it's the same weight as the Tay Flipper. Why is that? Well, that's because all the weight is localized in two very specific places. The end of the blade and the end of the handles. Now, Will has gone into the physics of balisongs quite a few times on his second channel, Will Hirsch Flips. And quite frankly, I am not qualified to talk on that at all. But what I can talk about is the experience that this localization of weight provides. It makes it feel just a bit weird. I think most people would agree that the Calico is an amazing flipper, but there's just something kind of weird about it. Maybe that's the reason that I'm dropping it so often, is because I've kind of gotten used to the Tay Flipper. Because it's still an amazing experience, don't get me wrong. It's very unique, but it has this inconsistency to its flipping. Not the same inconsistency that the Tonto blade has on the edit, because that was a displeasing inconsistency. This is a pleasing inconsistency, as it adds uniqueness to the Calico's overall experience, and helps distinguish it from other metal balisongs, or other plastic balisongs, and most metal balisongs. The inconsistency here leads to its uniqueness, because the inconsistency is in the weight, not in the shakiness or the flipping of the edit. But I already went into that in great detail in the last video. The Calico is it just feels inconsistent in its weight distribution, because it is inconsistent in its weight distribution. All of it's here, all of it's here. And that leads to an experience where just something doesn't feel quite right, and you can't put your finger on what it is. You still like it, until you pick up the original Tay Flipper, because here, sure, there's still weight here and here, but notice how much further down the blade it is. Notice that these pivots are pretty much the heaviest thing in this entire area, whereas in the Calico, that's not the case. The Tay Flipper, when you pick it up and you flip it again after flipping something like the Calico for a long time, you realize is just consistent, uniform. That weight is distributed among the whole balisong. There's still enough weight in the ends to make it carry momentum flawlessly, but it just doesn't have that same weird inconsistency to it. You can flip it slow. You can flip it fast. You can do whatever you want with it, because it just works, and it just feels so amazing. I think Tay seriously struck gold with the original Tay Flipper, as did he with the Calico. But the original, there's something about the original Tay Flipper And it comes down to still being unique while still being conventionally good. Similar to like the BB Firefly V2. The BB Firefly V1 was weird, but not in the sense that you could flip it every single day and like really, really enjoy it, which I'm sure you could, don't get me wrong. But the original BB Firefly was so weird that you almost wanted to have a different flipper that was conventionally good. Because if you flip the Firefly for too long, you might crave that normal experience again. Whereas the BB Firefly V2 normalized it and made it a really good flipper while still keeping its uniqueness. And I think that's what we have here. The Calico, while being a balisong that I could have on me all day, is not a balisong that I could flip only this for a week straight. Because it would get to the point where I began to crave flipping something more normal, like a Kraken, or like my Nemesis, or something like that. Whereas the Tay Flipper has none of that. This, to this day, is the only plastic balisong that I have ever gone a week flipping only this, and been completely satisfied coming out of that week. There was no itching to get my hands on a metal balisong. There was no itching for more weight or a different balance. And the best part, there was no squiddy syndrome coming back to my collection. Distinctly remember, right after Blade Show, I didn't flip any of my collection except the Tay Flipper. And I took this thing on a week-long vacation with nothing else. Only flipping this. I learned how to scissor on that vacation, and I came back and had no squiddy syndrome or anything of the like on this, on any of these. Because it's just, the Tay Flipper just flips amazingly. And it's unique enough to distinguish itself from everything else. And it's just special. I really like the Tay Flipper. Now let me just reiterate, because Kraken Trainer. Anyway, everyone wants to say, oh, because this is better, this must suck, right? No. This is still very, very good. This is still unique. This is still my second favorite plastic balisong. Like I said, not including this. We'll figure all that out later. But there's just something special about the original Tay Flipper, man, that I just like never truly, I appreciated it. I love the Tay Flipper. But lately, I've been loving the Tay Flipper a whole lot more, and I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, just rambling a little bit about my change in preferences. Thank you all for watching. Actually, no, it's worth mentioning. My preferences have also moved to be more towards neutral again rather than handle biased, and the Calico is handle biased, whereas the Tay Flipper is more neutral. That's a big thing to bring up. Handle biased, neutral. I prefer neutral, so that's why my preferences changed. But also all the other stuff. Anyway, enough rambling. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.